Kia ora, and welcome to Living Life as Easy As with Happiness. Wow, it's great to see you as easy as is. I hope you've been having a fantastic week and that everything is running along smoothly. But we are coming into a really crazy season. You know, we've got Christmas ahead of us and the summer holidays. The kids are doing NCA exams and it's all very stressful. And yes, the stress does start to compound within the households. So we're going to talk a bit about stress today because my life was completely spiraling out of control, mainly because of the stress levels that was in my life. It was so out of control that I could well be sitting in prison with the conscience of two little kitties' deaths sitting squarely on my shoulders right now if I hadn't started to take control of the stress that was in my life. That is how bad the stress was for me. And I'm going to share that very possible scenario with you later on in the video of how that could have happened if I hadn't taken control of the stress that was in my life. So yeah, the stress was completely out of control to the fact that every single thing that I did or happened, there was stress related to it. And so I was in a really bad place. And I think stress is a lot to be, I think stress is a lot more, causes a lot more than what we've given credit for. I think that there's a lot more accidents out there that are related to stress. I think there's a lot more deaths and illnesses that the underlying factor is stress, marriage breakdowns, tension in people's houses, all related to stress, and we really need to get control of the stress levels in our lives. It's just taking over. I see it all around me, so many people that are just starting to come apart at the seams because of the stress. And it's all here, it's all in our mind. Like half the stuff that we stress about never comes to fruition. We stress about how people think about us, we stress about how this is going to happen, and we usually always work it out. So, but because the stress is compounding, that it's just, getting really, really bad for some people, and what it did for me. And so what happened is, I'm going to share my story now about how I could have ended up in jail. The stress for me really manifested itself in anger, it manifested itself in road rage and the way I drove, and it manifested itself in me in illness. I was so crook that I was in A&E a few times. I had to go and stay with my parents for a few days with the kids because I just couldn't get out of bed, and it was just stress. And anyway, I was hooning around, I was speeding like a crazy woman, and I got myself a speeding ticket. $200 and something. Oh my God, I didn't have the money. I was an unemployed solo mum with debt at that time, and I was like, oh God, I can't afford this yet. Why me? Adding to my stress. And then a couple of months later, I got my second speeding ticket. And I had the kids in the car with me each time, and so, what kind of an example was I setting? But yeah, I got another speeding ticket, demerit points on my license, and I just went home from that, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're driving around like a maniac. You've crashed the car once, smashed into a bollard and smashed all the back up. You've got over $400 in speeding fines, demerit points. Come on, what is wrong with me? But the stress was just so bad. Anyway, by the time I got my second speeding ticket, yes, it started to sink in. I started to take heed, and I started to sort it out. And from that actual day of that second speeding ticket, I still had an insurmountable amount of stresses, and they manifested themselves in different ways, but I did get my driving under control. And so a couple of weeks after that second speeding ticket, there was this the street in New Plymouth called Lemon Street, and I used to just hoon down the street, you know, prior to me getting that second speeding ticket. 60, 63 Ks, you know, even 65 at some occasions, that I would hoon very stupidly down that street. Anyway, after I got my speeding ticket and I slowed right down to the speed limit, I didn't speed after that because I was petrified of getting another speeding ticket because I couldn't afford it. And I was going along there one day at 50k, and these two little children ran right out in front of my car. Just, whoa, out of nowhere. And I slammed on my brakes, and the lady behind me slammed on her brakes, and I saw her get out of her car through my rear vision mirror. And because she couldn't see, she didn't know whether I had hit these children or not, and she was petrified coming around to see what the scene was going to be in front of my car. Thank God, heaven on earth, I don't know, those two little kiddies just got missed by my car. And my son was in the car with me, and I keep thinking, if I was still travelling at the speed that I had been travelling around New Plymouth, thinking I'm just, you know, whoa, those two little kiddies would have been hit and quite possibly dead. If I was hooning along Lemon Street how I used to drive when I was under so much stress, those children probably wouldn't be with us today. There's no way, going at 63, I would have been able to stop in time to not kill those children. And I can't believe you how that affected my life after that. It was just a huge wake-up call for me. But I don't want people to be put in that situation before they have their wake-up call. You know, driving around those speeds was just ludicrous. But I was so stressed, and that's how it was manifesting in my life, by just speeding around town and blaming everybody else on the road for not indicating, for da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I was one of the worst culprits. Yeah, and I'm just so grateful and so thankful that those two little kiddies did not get run over that day, and that I was travelling at the correct speed. Because it was only 2 weeks before that scenario that I got my speeding ticket. And I thank somebody, I now thank somebody so much for that speeding ticket, you've got no idea. But it did give me a big wake-up call, and I had to sit down and start taking stock of what the hell I was doing and how much stress was controlling my life. And I needed to start taking control back of my life. And so how I did this was I sat down and I wrote a list of everything that stressed me out, everything that caused me stress and annoyance, and then I started changing those negatives and putting them into positives, one at a time. So the first thing was I'd got my driving under control. Thank God. That was the main one, because I was not setting a good example for my children, and I was driving quite erratically. So anyway, the other things on my list, but they all just started to snowball, and everything just started to de-stress when I start looking at things on a positive note rather than looking at everything from a negative. So if we have a look at, still staying on the driving scene, red lights. I thought every single red light was sent out there for me, just for me. You know, here comes Nessie, we're gonna make the lights red. So it was changing my thought pattern as well, like not everything out there was out to get me. And so when we came to a red light, okay, how am I going to make it a positive? Let's do an exercise. So this is when I used to suck in my tummy, or still do, suck in my tummy, hold it in the whole time at the red's light. So the longer the red's light, the light's red, then I'm benefiting my tummy, so it's nice and flat and strong because I'm doing all these sucking in exercises. And so now a huge negative is now positive. We've spoken about my toilet roll. I used to go in there and it'd be empty, and I'd be like, oh my God, another empty toilet roll. And I've turned that into a positive now. My plastics cupboard. That was on my list. I hated the plastics cupboard because every time I opened it, all the plastics would fall out around my feet, never find what I'm looking for, could find the bottoms but never find the correct lid, and it used to stress me out to the stage where I'd just throw the plastics. I'm like, oh my God. Now, I've got an amazing plastics cupboard because I threw out half of what I don't need and I've only kept what I need. So now it's a positive because I can open the cupboard and find exactly what I need because I've hardly got anything in there. But I've got enough. It works. So that's now a positive when it was an awful negative. Just so many things. My days off were a negative. I hated having my days off because I spent them doing housework. And I used to get so angry and I'd be like, I should be out having coffee with my friends, but I'm doing washing and I'm vacuuming and I'm dusting and I'm cleaning. So I begin to hate my days off, something that should be a joy. Now what I do is I do my housework through the week. I don't start work till 9:30, so I can vacuum in the morning, I can put a load of washing on, so that my weekends or my days off are free for me to spend time with my family and my friends and do things that bring me joy instead of doing housework. So another negative being turned into a positive. So do that. Help start eliminate your stress. Write down what's stressing you. They can be just the little things, the small things. You start peeling those away and getting rid of them, and then you can tackle the bigger stuff. But it does get easier and it just sort of snowballs, and you want to look for positive ways. I look for easier ways, which is where As Easy As was born. I look for easy ways to do things that are going to cause me the least amount of stress. And you know, it's just been a phenomenal ride. I absolutely love it. But one of the other things that's really, really helped me with my stress has been those breathing exercises. I really recommend breathing exercises. They are so good. It's the oxygen that gets through your brains, and it just releases gorgeous stuff to get that beautiful oxygen, and it helps you to be able to change your mindset, to have a positive mindset rather than a negative mindset, and know that the world's not out to get you. The red lights are not there just to piss you off. They're not. It doesn't rain just because it's you. It rains, people. It's not raining because it's out to get you. All right? So keep that in mind as well, and that will help you. The world is not against you. You are against you. Change your mindset. Get rid of the negatives. Put in the positive, and you'll be away laughing. I don't want any of you guys to have to be sitting in jail because you've just run over 2 little kitties because your driving is so erratic, caused by your stress. Start taking control. And one of the best ways is doing those breathing exercises on a regular, daily basis. You've got to do them every day. Anyway, we've got a fun, festive time. It should be fun, festive, celebrating, enjoying, not stressing. So let's start getting that stress under control before that festive time comes upon us. All right, As Easy As is. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Monday. Aroha.